Hello, lovers. Welcome to the seductive side of the internet. I am Miss Kimmykins, your hostess for Sinsual Saturdays. This is a safe place for listeners to send in their submissions, sharing tantalizing tales of seduction and pleasure. You can choose to remain anonymous. We respect everyone's right to share their experiences in peace. You can send your submissions to Miss Kimmykins722 at gmail.com. That's MISSKIMMYKINS 722 at gmail.com. Whether you're into crushing or squirting, role play or foot fetish, or something a little more on the edge, we have something for everyone. So get comfortable, lovers, and join me for a peek behind the curtain that separates regular life from fantasy. Allow yourself to be overtaken by your desires. Let go of the stresses of the day and free your mind. Sink into the depths of the forbidden, a place where the ultimate pleasures are found. Give me your ear and your undivided attention, and let's slip into Sensual Saturday. Tonight's submission comes from Mr. Footy Feels. He says, "Dear Miss Kimmykins, I have a confession. I have never expressed this to anyone before. Well, lovers, we are a place where people love to share their secrets, and I'm here for it." Mr. Footy Feels continues, "I have had a foot fetish since I was 12 years old. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm some random weirdo that goes around smelling women's shoes that they leave behind at the thrift store or while they're trying shoes on at a store. But no, that's not me. I work a corporate job. I have a wife. I have children. I attend church every Sunday. But my foot fetish has always been with me. My wife, we've been married for 15 years, and she doesn't even know. I have explored my fetish in many different ways, from videos to pictures to following foot fetish accounts on social media, all in an attempt to quell the footy desire in my heart. But it didn't work. I found myself sitting behind my desk in my office at work, watching all the women walk by in their high heels and their pantyhose, in their tennis shoes or their flats. And I found myself wondering, What do their feet smell like? Are their toes sweaty? Do they put lotion on their feet? I wonder what their feet would feel like rubbing up against my penis through my dress pants. It was very distracting, Miss Kimmy Kins, but I had to do something. So I decided that I would do what any sensible man with my proclivity for feet would do. I went online looking for a woman of the night, if you will, one who could fulfill my footy desires, my toe tickling tender place, something that I'd never experienced before, something that I could never, ever express to anyone in my life. Now, this venture wasn't successful, to say the least. I did meet in person with the young lady, but her feet, they were so tiny, so delicate. It just didn't do anything for me. My penis didn't even get erect. I put her foot to my face. It was cold. It wasn't warm and moist like I expected. So I gave her some money and sent her on her way. I must tell you, Miss Kimmikins, I felt so defeated. On my drive home, I noticed a strip club. It was one I had passed a few times before, but I had never given it a thought to stop by and see what it was like. I mean, these were strippers. These were women who took their clothes off. How would they feel about a man coming in who said, "I simply want to smell your feet. I just want to press your sweaty toes against my lips. I just want to have you dig your heels into my crotch and smush my balls until I orgasm." But that desire was overwhelming. So I parked my vehicle. I paid the fee to get in, and I was a little shocked because the place wasn't what I expected at all. I mean, I'm not even sure I had an expectation per se, but it was dark. You could feel the moisture of all of the people in the air. I'm sure the sweaty vaginas and moist ass cracks and, well, I digress. I knew it would be the perfect place for me to find and satisfy exactly what I was seeking. I found a table in a corner, and a young lady came and asked if I would like a drink. Miss Kimmykins, I am not a drinker. I am, as I said before, quite straight-laced and straightforward. So I ordered a simple soda water with a squeeze of lime, just to make it look like I fit in there. While I waited for my beverage, I began scanning the room. And there she was, perfectly poised, sitting at the bar. Her beautiful legs ending in the most beautiful pair of feet I'd ever seen. She had on a clear pair of what had to be 5 or 6 inch heels, but she looked to be about a size 11 or 12 shoe. And I got excited because I neglected to mention I love large feet. When the young lady came back to my table to check on me, I asked her the young lady's name who was by the bar. Her name was Divine. I told her I wanted to speak with her. If she could send her over, I would appreciate it. I gave her a tip for her trouble. She went over and spoke to Divine. And when Divine stood up, oh, Miss Kimmykins, my heart leapt. I got butterflies in my stomach. My penis quivered. I felt my nutsack filling up. She was tall, voluptuous body. But those legs were thick like a sequoia in the middle of a dense forest. And those feet, those beautiful feet. The closer she got, I noticed she had red toenail polish, which, just sent me over the top, Miss Kimmykins. There is something so sensual, so delicate, so delicious, so divine about a woman with painted toes, especially red. She walked over to me and she took a seat. And she introduced herself. Oh, I grabbed her hand and I kissed it, and she had the most delicate chocolate skin. It was like tasting a decadent whipped cream. And I immediately knew these feet were the ones that I had been searching for all this time. And if you haven't guessed by now, Ms. Kimmykins, I am Caucasian. But allow me to continue. Ms. Divine went on to list her services. This much for a non-contact dance, this much for a lap dance, this much for something called the champagne room. But I told her I wanted none of that. I needed something very specific. And she looked at me and she said, well, I'm not allowed to sell pussy in the club, but if you give me an hour, I can meet you in the parking lot. I have a place we can go to. And while I did take a moment to go over in my head if I would take her up on her offer, I thought better of it and said, no, your feet. I want to see and smell and touch your feet. And she looked at me. And she cocked her head to the side. And she smiled. I thought she was going to laugh or be offended. But she said, why didn't you say so sooner? Come with me to the back. I have something just for you. Well, in that moment, I was in love. We stood up. She escorted me to what I'm guessing was the champagne room that she referred to earlier when she was listing her services. And she sat me down. She stood on a table that was placed in the middle of the room. And she turned in a slow circle for me. And I watched her lovely feet, the beautiful red polish, the heels that were well moisturized, perfectly wrinkled. And I started to imagine my cum dripping down the back of her ankle, filling all those cute little wrinkles. I had to take my jacket off because I was getting incredibly warm, and she got down off the table. She pulled a chair close to me. Even as I write this, my breath is getting heavy and my heart is beating fast. Oh, this feels so wonderful being in this memory and sharing it with you, Miss Kimmykins. I often imagine what your feet look like. Would you mind sending me some pictures? Let me get back to my story. She sat down in front of me and she stretched her legs out, placed one foot up on my left thigh and the other foot on my right. I moved my hands to immediately touch those glorious feet of hers. She slapped my hand away and said, no, don't touch. I love a good tease. I put my hands back to my side and she moved her feet, still in her shoes, to my crotch. And she pressed and pressed and pressed as if to crush my very soul, but my dick was rock hard. And she gave me a little smile. She says, "Remove my shoes." And I eagerly grabbed and removed those 5-inch crystal clear heels. And before I knew it, I had her shoes pressed to my face. Oh. What a glorious scent. And then she said, "Lick the insides of my shoes." Oh, Miss Kimmykins, if I could tell you, if I could tell you how that made me feel, knowing that I was going to be tasting the very essence of a goddess in those big, beautiful feet. She wore an 11 and a half, by the way. And I eagerly licked every crevice I could find on the inside of that shoe. I can still taste the baby oil on my tongue. Once I finished, she told me to lay down on the floor. I did as I was told, and she pressed those beautiful feet to my chest. And she worked her way down to my penis, which was hard as the floor I was laying on. And she pressed her bare foot into my dick. Oh, and I just, oh my goodness. I couldn't help but to giggle with excitement because this is what I had fantasized about. And I started to beg her, "Please, Miss Divine, please press your other foot to my face. Please allow me to smell and taste the essence of those beautiful feet." And she obliged. She pressed her foot first to my forehead, and then she moved down very slowly, very delicately to the tip of my nose. And I took in a big sniff. And she moved down to my mouth. And I eagerly kissed the bottom of her foot. Smelled and kissed. Oh, how badly I wanted those toes in my mouth. She continued to press her other foot into my dick, smashing and massaging at the same time. Oh, and I was on the edge. I was on the edge of exploding. And I screamed, "Put your toes in my mouth." And she put them one by one between my lips. And I eagerly kissed and suckled like a little baby on his mother's titty. This was everything I could have ever imagined. So much ecstasy. And she told me, "Take your dick out of your pants. I have something very special for you." And without hesitation, right there on the floor of the champagne room, I unbuckled and unzipped faster than I ever had in my life. And my dick was so hard and jumped out so fast, if it wasn't attached to my body, it would have gone across the room. Ms. Divine removed her other foot from my face and positioned herself so that both of her feet were on my dick. And she gently folded both of her feet around my dick and stroked up and down, up and down. She ran her toes across my head, scooping up all of the pre-cum that oozed out. And she continued to rub, grinding her heels into my nuts at the same time. At that point, I could no longer control myself. Oh, and I shot a load so big all over Miss Divine's feet. It was like a jar of cream had exploded. It was the most satisfying orgasm I'd ever had in my life. My nuts were empty and my dick went soft. And as I lay there, Miss Divine took my hot, sticky semen and rubbed her feet together, making sure that it covered every beautiful wrinkle in her heel and the bottom of her foot. Oh, I was in heaven. I was in heaven. We sat there for a few moments. My semen still drying, sticky on her feet. She told me to sit up and put her shoes on her feet for her. She was a naughty one. The thought of her walking around for the rest of the evening at the club with her feet covered in my semen. It did my heart good. I placed her shoes back on her feet, and I pulled myself together, still not believing what had just happened. My fantasy came to life. I asked Miss Divine her fee. $350 for that interaction, and I happily gave her $5. I did go back a few times to see her, but unfortunately, she moved on, and I haven't found anyone to take her place yet. But I have those memories, and I'm glad I was able to share it with you today, Miss Kimmykins. Maybe you and I could schedule some time. I would love to see what your feet look like, Miss Kimmykins. Write me back and let me know what size shoe you wear and what color polish do you prefer. Anyway, thank you for your time. Sincerely, yours truly, Mr. Footy Fetish. Well, lovers, that was quite interesting. But again, here in Miss Kimmykins' universe, all fetishes are welcome. We don't judge here. So whether you are turned on by sweaty feet or a woman eating a peach, it doesn't matter. You all have a place here in Miss Kimmykins' universe. All righty, lovers, it was a pleasure as always. I hope you enjoyed. Good night.